all hear me over there? Okay?
Yeah.
Good. I'll try to speak distinctly and, for once in my life, not speak too quickly. We're here to talk about music in the New Testament, and we're going to get there. But I want to start with a couple kind of general statements about studying music, especially in ancient cultures, and our lack of knowledge and how one finds anything out, and kind of the function of music, because we have a very distinctive notion as to what music constitutes in our society and at our time. But of course it's been different in the past, and it's different in other places in the world. One thing to acknowledge is that there are a lot of cultures where the notion of a concert simply does not exist. Music is a functional thing. And yes, you probably enjoy it, but it exists for function. We can see this in, of course, the slaves had work songs in the United States. And the reason they did was because in Africa, music is almost entirely a functional thing, and work songs were part of the culture from which they came. A function of music in a lot of cultures has been worship. But music for worship is very different than music in a concert. So one thing, as we go through what we're talking about for the next 3 weeks, we need to be thinking about music as a functional thing, and not just as something that you sit back and go, oh, I love this song. Well, you might love that song, but that song in a lot of cultures, including Palestine in the 1st century, sort of our era, music was mostly functional. Another thing we have to keep in mind is there's a lot of different views about what music means in worship, and that the extremes of this, represented in the Christian tradition, would be Calvinism, where music itself is actually evil, because music is something which makes you think about other things. Lynn, I'll give you a moment, I'll give you time for a commercial in just a moment. So music is evil, and in worship, all you can use are texts which are in the Bible. Of course, the book in the Bible that is meant to be sung and has been sung for 3,000 years is the book of Psalms. So in the Calvinist church, many years ago, there's still churches today that observe something sort of like this. You would only sing psalms, and you would only sing one tune at a time with no accompaniment. It would be what a music scholar calls monophonic, one sound. On the other side of this, we have something like, Lutheranism in the days of Bach, where it was not unusual to not only have an organ and a harpsichord in church, but an orchestra, choir, and soloists. Because they were from a culture where music was a very important part of it, and Martin Luther came from that culture, and Martin Luther loved music, so it became a very large part of worship in his church. The same thing was going on with the Jews in 1st century Palestine, where there were sort of two different feelings about how music gets used in worship, and we'll run into that as we talk about these things.